In this presentation, we look at the very popular painter Valentin Alexandrovich Serov. Serov's influence on Russian art cannot be overstated. He was a central figure in the Russian artistic community at the turn of the 20th century and played a significant role in the development of realism and a new art in Russia. His innovative approach to portraiture and his willingness to experiment with style and technique inspired a new generation of Russian artists. Valentin Serov became prominent in Russian art and was particularly well known for his portraits and historical paintings. He was born on January 19, 1865, in St Petersburg, Russia, into a creative family of artists. Serov's father, Alexander Serov, was a composer, and his mother, Valentina Serova, was a singer. Serov began his formal art education at the St Petersburg Academy of Arts, where he studied under renowned Russian artists Ilya Repin and Pavel Chistyakov, and he later travelled to Paris, where he was exposed to French atelier practices and studied the new movements, which greatly influenced his artistic style. In this segment, we wish to focus on the emergence of the Union of Russian Artists, formed in the 19th century, which was an association of realist artists that would be called the itinerants, and brought together the majority of the most talented and progressive personalities in the field of Russian art during the second half of the 19th and early 20th century. The members of the society sought to promote realist art, justly regarding it as an active, cohesive force for social progress and a better life for all. This would be known as Russia's golden era for the arts. To this end, they would organize joint exhibitions of their works in St. Petersburg and Moscow, then move them on to many of the country's major cities. These displays came to be known as itinerant, or circulating exhibitions, and the society's members as the travelling collective. The work of Serov and the itinerants constitutes the pride and glory of Russian culture. From the moment the society came into being up to the present day, the art of the itinerants has been held in high esteem by the people. In pre-revolutionary Russia, it was hailed with enthusiasm by progressive intellectuals and those who believed in democracy. However, just before Serov would become a member of the itinerant group, which is just prior to 1890, when the group actually formed, his talent was being shaped, and his paint handling was very broad. It would be characteristic of his technique throughout his life. In our parlance within the arts, we call it the big look. The ability to capture the larger essence of the thing seen and not getting too fussy about minutiae as beginners often do. This can be seen in his insightful portrait work, the naturalness of pose, and sincere groping for the right feeling toward his sitter. Often he worked his interior settings around the figure as every bit a part of the portrait. He gives a mood and personality to the whole. One of Serov's most famous works is his portrait of the Russian artist Pyotr Ilyich Konstantin Korovin. This portrait is notable for its psychological depth and sensitivity, capturing the essence of the painter's personality. He was particularly skilled at depicting the elegance and grace of the Russian aristocracy, as seen in his portraits of members of the Russian imperial family. In addition to his portraits, Serov also painted scenes from Russian history and literature, often with a focus on the human drama and emotion at the heart of these stories. His historical paintings, such as Peter the Great and Girl with Peaches, are celebrated for their beauty and emotional resonance. Serov was hailed as one of the greatest realists of the late 19th and early 20th centuries. Deep humanity is combined in his art with a sharp artistic vision of nature's rich clarity of thought and feeling with pulsating vitality, and a sober palette with a strong sense of style. Fine psychological insight, crystalline precision, and it may be added impeccable mastery in his portraits as well as in his lyrical genre subjects, such as the pictures of children and it should be noted, at a time when Serov lived and worked, was the age of the approaching revolutionary revival of Russia. His art, full of bright hope, reflects the period of secret hopes, with which the hearts of all the best representatives of the democratic intelligentsia were filled during that heroic decade. The revolutionary period left its stamp on all Russian artists who had not lost the genuine artistic feeling for what nature provides with crystal-clear naturalism. Serov and his contemporaries loved the land and the people of the land, with all their rich character traits of honesty and devoted work ethic. The contradictory and tragic reality of social changes were full of restless anxiety, sometimes turning to confusion. The picture of artistic life in Russia in the early 20th century is complicated and inconsistent. Various modernistic tendencies were opposed by a sufficiently strong realistic group, represented by a number of the original and talented members of itinerants. In addition to studying the works of past masters, Serov also sought out contemporary artists and movements during his time in Europe. In 1895, Serov received an invitation from the publisher Anatoly Mamontov to create illustrations for Ivan Krylov's fables. Only 2 would be featured in the book. Serov, however, was captivated by the invitation to illustrate children's books and kept doing many studies over a 15-year period. Many were preserved and are a part of his legacy as an artist of great importance for Russian art. He also was interested in the Symbolist movement, which was gaining popularity in Europe at the turn of the 20th century. Serov's exposure to symbolism influenced his later works, which often conveyed deeper emotional and psychological themes, it was thought. No doubt this influence more reasonably would factor into his illustrative period, where novel techniques could play a role in publications. Unfortunately, his untimely death would not see these factors come to fruition. As can be noted, Valentin Serov especially distinguished himself as a portrait painter, and it is in this area we want to explore a bit more, as we have many artists that have interests in that area of his work. Serov's style can actually be divided into 2 parts in his approach to this art form. First, there is what may be called his classic or academic realist interest in form, that is to say, a real searching of the features with more penetrating and involved likeness in the rendering. Not overly detailed, but definitely refined with the important element of expressing animated life, which is the hallmark of a great portrait. Second, it is the sketchy summary aspect of his portraiture, an impromptu statement that looks to search out the subject and is less concerned with crisp edges and solid rendering as such, but looks for the impression the eye sees with brevity and brushwork that encapsulates the forms as a sweeping summary. The painter must be one who longs to explore and stretch his arsenal of tools in his own character to fully flesh out the whole process of picture-making to its fullest. Often such works are left in an unfinished state, yet yield all the satisfaction needed to complete the thought of its creation. In Serov's drawings, we see the same diligence of exploring freely using charcoal pencil or washes to put down the visual impression clearly. The practice of more finely rendered artwork is often a good exercise for the artist, as it keeps one sharp. Bastien Lepage is known as one who believed it's easier to get success from the artist's point of view if the works are altogether delightful. Thoughtfully modelled with the thoroughness of a sculptor, the colour and atmosphere are always true, and the execution is unlaboured and direct. Serov married Olga Trubnikova in 1889. His wife and his children were the subjects of many of his works. His children numbered 5 and often accompanied their father in his travels. He was a very popular choice for portrait work, and left many paintings and studies behind that are today treasured in Russia and the rest of the art world. The passion he possessed for his work is undeniable, and along with the Union of Russian Artists, taught at the Academy of Arts and the Moscow Institute of Painting, Sculpture and Architecture from 1897 to 1909, and was a member of the Council of the Tretyakov Gallery. And finally, we trust you will find the wonderful work of Serov as breathtaking and unique as we have. The list is long for the many pictures he painted and other venues he assisted in, including theatre decor. And there will be other artists from Russia we will be covering in future episodes, so we look forward to presenting them as well. So that does it for now, and please leave a like as it helps the channel, so thank you. Until next time, it's bye for now.